welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is EAHamm, and I offer writing tips and encouragement and motivation for writers and aspiring authors like myself. This subject that I decided to film today has to do with writing in a sense, as well as mental health. As you can see, I'm outside. It's such a beautiful day in Northeast Ohio, and the nicest that it's been for a very long time. We have seen so much snow this year and so much gloominess that just today is just a breath of fresh air, and I thought that I would come outside and film. And what you hear in the background is the wind, and also these wind chimes that my dad put up probably, I don't know, a little bit before I moved back to this area. I don't know really where to start except to say that when I say about mental health, I'm talking mainly about anxiety and depression. And probably about, it's almost 3 years, actually this May will be 3 years that someone near and dear to me passed away. And when that happened, my world was turned upside down, and everyone around me knew that I was a writer. I always carry notebooks, and I'm constantly writing. I have my nose in a book, and that just has been my life for so long. And when that happened to me, I didn't know how to write, actually. At the time, I look back at that period of time, probably the first year, or maybe a little bit more than that, was just a complete fog for me. I don't remember much except great sadness. That would be one way I would describe it. But I just wasn't able to really talk to too many people. It was very, very hard for me to communicate, even for those who were around me, because this affected me to this degree. And if you've never experienced grief, then I'm here to tell you that there is another side to it, even though you don't feel it at that time. But while I was in it, I had people telling me, you know, you'll write again. You will. It'll come back, and there'll be a day that you'll be able to be on the other side of this, and yes, you'll be sad, but you'll get your voice back. And I remember thinking, no, my voice and my writing is dead. So pretty much for an entire year, or even maybe a little longer, I couldn't write. I could barely talk to even my friends and family. I had a lot of anxiety. I did write in a journal, a lot of mumbo jumbo. I've gone back recently and read through some of it. And actually just recently I found a letter that I had written to my dad the day before we had his funeral. And when I read that letter, I thought, you know what, I can turn this letter into a poem to be, you know, put into my upcoming poetry book. And just that type of emotion has a way of shaking you to your core. And I have to say that when I first decided to write again, I wanted to write about grief, and I wanted to write about, you know, experiencing such a thing, but I couldn't bring myself to really talk about this particular, you know, person that passed away that was close to me. So I started writing fiction stories, and I wrote a short novella, basically just for myself to help me in the writing process. And I was able to finish that. Just writing about that, processing it, it helped me. But all that to say, I learned during that time a lot about the anxiety surrounding, you know, my life in general and the depression that I had. And I learned that the way for me to be able to handle that was through my writing. and I wrote a lot of dark poetry per se. It was dark, you know. Recently I sent a poem to a friend of mine, and she was like, Liz, I wouldn't read this over coffee. I'd be reading it and crying over my whiskey. But basically, you know, that was just my way of getting everything. It was cathartic for me. I was trying to think of the word to use. It was very, very cathartic. And what writing does for me, I don't know about everyone who writes, but it helps me release a lot of emotions, whether good or bad, and usually when I'm done, I feel a whole lot better. It's become more of an art for me. So the one thing I do want to point out is anxiety. I had listened recently, I think it was Kristen Martin, who had spoken about anxiety and writing, and it got me to thinking about myself and anxiety and my perfectionism, so to speak, of just wanting everything to be just so. But the one thing that I learned, actually it took NaNoWriMo to teach me, was to just write what was in my mind, get it all out on paper. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can always be edited and it can be changed. And it really doesn't always have to be shared with the world. Honestly, there's a lot of my writing that I don't plan on sharing with the world. But then, on the other hand, there is some of it that I think that would be helpful to somebody, whether they're hurting right now or, you know, in the future, whether they're going to be going through something that I went through. And I want to say that whether you're in a period of time in your life where, you know, writing used to be your life, or maybe once upon a time you did have a dream of being a writer, or, you know, you have that creative side to you, give it time. Don't force yourself. Let it flow. One thing I did learn from somebody that I know, she keeps, you know, and to this day she keeps telling me, you know, sometimes this particular story isn't meant to be shared at this time. Let it sit. Sometimes it needs to just sit, and when you're ready, you'll know. You'll know when the time is right. And then sometimes something is so personal that, you know, it's cathartic for you to get it all out on paper. And it's cathartic for you to write it all out and then possibly burn it for no one rather than yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do want to let you know that if you still have that dream, start pursuing it. Don't allow anxiety to hold you back. Don't allow the fears that you're not good enough or your word isn't for everyone, no one wants to read your stuff. Don't let that hold you back. If you enjoy writing and you enjoy helping others, then do it, because we weren't put on this earth just for ourselves. Honestly, a lot of society today, they live for themselves. It's eat, drink, and be merry. Let's go to work. Let's pay the bills. Let's party on the weekend, all to go back to work again. But if you have no purpose, if you have no goals, then you will quickly become depressed, because honestly, we were created to help someone else, and not all of us have the same talent. But some of us do, and we're sitting on that and we're not sharing it for some reason or another. Maybe it's the anxiety, we have talked ourselves out of this, or you're going through a really hard time, which I get completely. I get that. But there is another side to it. Your voice will come back. And as I'm filming, I see several cardinals out here, and that was one sign. After this person passed away, that was one sign that every time I saw the cardinal, I felt that that person was nearby. And it's making me smile very big because it's like that person is watching me. So I know that's off subject, but if you like what you hear, go ahead and click the like button, give it a big old thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel. There'll be more videos like this. If there's something that you would like me to film, if you have any questions, go ahead and put that in the comments below. I will be happy to answer you to the best of my ability. But like I said, I'm here, I'm being real with you, I'm not scripted. This is just me talking to you as if you were standing right here and letting you know that there is another side, and don't let anxiety hold you back. Don't, because you do have a voice, and if you love to write, it will come back. It's not gone forever. You just have to heal. There is a hole in your heart and you just have to heal. So I'll let you go for right now, and we'll talk later. Bye.